Hi, everyone. Welcome to our online engagement event for the 14th Street permanent closure. My name is Natalie Bode, and I'm the Senior Transportation Engineer responsible for neighborhood traffic reviews. I'm joined tonight by Chelsea Lanning, a Transportation Engineer with the city, and with Julian Petras, another Transportation Engineer with the city.
Hey, everyone.
So before we begin tonight, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the loss of Kathy Watts. She was a well-respected member of the community and a large cycling advocate. We feel privileged to have had the pleasure of working with her, and she will be greatly missed. Our thoughts go out to all of you who knew her family, and her friends. Please note that tonight's meeting will be recorded and posted to the city's Neighbourhood Traffic Review webpage. This will allow any residents who were unable to attend tonight's meeting to watch the video and let us know if they have any comments or concerns. So I apologize in advance if you have any delays with the video. If you notice a very significant delay, you may want to turn on your closed captioning to help you follow along. It looks like tonight we are having a bit of a technical issue with our question and answer forum. So I'm hoping that you could maybe email your comments as we go through the meeting. My email address is natalie.bode@saskatoon.ca. Natalie is NATHALIE.Bode, BAUDAIS @saskatoon.ca. And I'll just try to keep my eye on my email and see if any comments come up while we're online. Otherwise, I can give you a call and follow up with you regarding any questions or comments that you have with the material we present tonight. I apologize for that issue. I will go over other ways to reach me by email, phone call, and letters a little bit later in our presentation. So I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint presentation now. I hope that those of you joining us tonight had a chance to watch our video about the closure. It provided a little bit of background information and an overview of the engagement process that we've had so far and some of the design options that we considered. And tonight, I was hoping that we could focus on the recommended design for the permanent closure and get your feedback on those options. So let's get started with 14th Street and Temperance Street. So the preferred design for this intersection includes two curb extensions, one on the northwest corner and one on the southeast corner. The permanent closure would accommodate the neighborhood bikeway through the closed section. Stop control would be reversed so that it would be north-south Temperance Street would be stopped, and concrete benches would be provided in the closed space, and these benches would be designed to withstand collisions with motor vehicles. At the intersection of 14th Street and Lansdowne Avenue, the preferred design for this intersection includes two curb extensions. This is very similar to the temporary installation at this intersection. One curb extension would be on the northwest corner and one on the southwest corner. Again, the neighborhood bikeway would be accommodated through the closed space, and stop control would be for Lansdowne Avenue, so cyclists could travel free flow. And again, concrete benches would be provided in the public space, capable of withstanding collisions with motor vehicles. And now for the intersection at Temperance Street and Lansdowne Avenue. The preferred design for this intersection, again, is very similar to the temporary installation. There would be a curb extension on, well, two curb extensions, both on the south side of the intersection, a median island on Temperance Street, and yield traffic control for northbound Lansdowne Avenue. So I know we're showing the one curb extension all in concrete, but some of that could be provided in grass. So we would just have the concrete curbing and grass space within the extension. For those of you who attended the neighborhood bikeway meeting just before this one, you've seen some of these options as well for the bikeway through the closure. We have three different options through the closed space where the bikeway can be accommodated. We can do a bi-directional bikeway on either side of the space. So either on the north side, closer to the little library and the mailbox, or closer to the south side near Delish Cafe. Or we can do a unidirectional bikeway, and there would be cyclists on either side of the closed space with an empty public space between the two bikeways. So the closure options, all three of these would work with the designs that we have for the permanent closure. So we'd like to hear from you on which of these options you prefer. So again, you can email me with your preference on those options at natalie.bode@saskatoon.ca. I don't see any emails coming in quite yet. I'm sure it's tough for people to navigate between the two systems, so I'll be watching for your comments over the next few weeks. I do have a couple slides at the end of the presentation, which gives some examples of what can be accommodated within the closed space. In case some of you are wondering what types of benches, how would these look? I do have a slide with an example. If you can jump to that, please, Julian. So there's the existing closure in the photo. Yeah, maybe let's start with the existing closure, Julian, and I'll just walk through all three of those. So this is the existing closed space. So there's not a ton of room there, but we want to get rid of those orange delineator posts and temporary rubber curbs for you. You've been living with those for quite long enough, I think, and we can definitely improve on that. So the next slide is an example of a similar closure that was done in Vancouver. And they did this more as a temporary closure, like a pop-up type closure, which could be easily taken down if they needed to. So they used more planter boxes or things that could be easily moved or relocated. And then the next slide shows the benches that we were looking at. So I know some of you were worried about creating a hangout space here, and others were concerned about having a place to rest when they are walking through the neighborhood. So these types of benches provide kind of that resting space, but they're not too comfortable that people would want to linger for a long time. So this is one of the benches that we were looking at, and there would be two on each side of the closure within the space. And I've heard some other people comment that they were worried about kind of the other space in the closure just being too sparse. So there are some opportunities to do a bit of activation within that space if the community association or the neighborhood wanted to pursue a decorative crosswalk application or something like that, that we could kind of beautify that space between the benches. Just gonna check my email one more time here, make sure no one submitted anything. I'm not seeing anything there. So Julian, if you can jump back to the next step slide. So next steps, we are going to finalize the design of the permanent closure this winter. We are going to be coordinating the closure construction with some other projects in the area that are happening next summer. So we intend to finalize the design prior to the winter, or like winter months, tender the contract, and then construction would occur next summer in conjunction with the water and sewer work and roadways projects that are happening right around these intersections. So here is one comment that came in. Are the benches concrete? Yes, these benches are a reinforced concrete with some wood accents. There is an option for a planter box or not. So that's something that we could consider. Thanks for that question. I'm glad the online is working for some of you. So again, that email is natalie.bode@saskatoon.ca. And actually we show it on the next slide. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Julian. So I'm hoping to hear from many of you over the next month. I've enjoyed working with you. I wish we could see you face to face. We've had a few meetings about this closure, and I'm really excited to get this to the finish line for you. So I really hope I hear from you and that you've had some time to consider what we're proposing. And if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you can't access the materials online, I'm happy to mail you a copy of our proposal. And I'll be including the meeting recording and some minutes on the saskatoon.ca/NTR webpage, which is also available on that slide. And you do have to navigate a little bit through the years. So 2014 is when the Nutana Neighbourhood Traffic Review started. So if you do the pull down for 2014 and then find Nutana, you will see the materials for this meeting. And then another follow-up comment just came in that concrete might be very cold to sit on in the winter. And yes, it would. So I think that's where the wood accent kind of comes in. The wood accent also adds as a deterrent to people laying on the bench, so it's not a comfortable horizontal surface. And hopefully people have good snow pants or long jackets in the winter months so that they can not get too cold on that surface. Right. Now, unfortunately, Councillor Block did have a double booking. She was hoping to attend tonight's meeting or jump on if she had a minute, and it looks like she's still tied up. So I'm sure she's also eager to get this completed for you. Some of the other work that is happening in the area that I just wanted to give you all an update about was the neighborhood bikeways study. So we at the city are undertaking a neighborhood bikeways project to help identify measures which provide more travel choices, improve safety, accessibility, and connectivity. And the project includes the evaluation and design of walking and cycling facilities for several corridors, and it includes 14th Street East between Saskatchewan Crescent and Cumberland Avenue. And 14th Street was selected for review because it provides important connections to existing walking and cycling facilities with Meewasin on the west and the multi-use pathway east of Cumberland. So to learn more about that project, you can visit saskatoon.ca/engage, and there's a project tile there for the Neighbourhood Bikeways project. And I also thought I'd let you know about our residential speed limit review, which is currently underway. As requested by City Council, we're undertaking a review of how we set speed limits for residential streets. So a few more details about what that includes. It includes considering lower posted speed limits for our residential streets, possibly a 30 km/h or 40 km/h posted speed limit for our residential streets. It's also considering adjustments to our school zones and possibly reducing speed limits in playground zones or establishing senior zones. And we anticipate that we'll be undertaking some engagement for that in 2021 and then presenting it to council. So another question has just come in. Will the Delish customers be able to use the enclosed space? Will Delish be able to serve those customers? And if the answer to these questions is yes, then I would vote for the closure nearest Delish. So you would want the bi-directional closure on the south side. So thanks for that. I'll make a note of that in the project file as I collect all those comments. We did hear concerns during our design workshop about the use of that space by Delish. I'm sure this sentiment is shared by others. I don't foresee that it would be available to Delish without going through a patio permit application of some type through our planning and development group. So I don't have all the details on that process, but I could include a link about that in the minutes. Well, yeah, the road maintenance. So as I alluded to earlier, we are going to be tying the permanent closure work with the road work that's planned for this area. So portions of 14th Street are planned for improvements in 2021, and there is some road reconstruction planned near Lansdowne and 14th. And I obviously, with the question and answer box not working properly for this meeting, I'll include a link to the asset preservation interactive map in the minutes so that you can use that to see the different projects throughout the city that they have planned. It's a nice interactive map that you can kind of scroll and see your area. Here's another question. One of the residents have checked the use of Delish in this area, serving in that closed space, and it is not legal for them to do that. That clarifies that. And that goes back to that other comment that they would still probably want the bikeway closer to Delish. If it's illegal, we don't want to encourage that use, right? All right. So I don't know how many of you were able to attend the neighborhood bikeway meeting that occurred just before this one, but they're also accepting comments over the next month for their design. And there is some overlap between their project and ours because that bikeway continues on through the closed space. And they've also, our curb extensions and traffic control are consistent throughout the two projects. So any feedback they receive and any feedback I receive, we will be coordinating the results when we finalize the design. That's all the comments I see that came in so far. Sorry, I know my spelling is odd, so hopefully nobody had an issue with spelling my name. It is on the screen, so hopefully that helps. We also had some comments come in by email prior to the meeting. And someone was asking me about naming the space after Kathy. And let me just see if I can pull that up. Yes, so we do have a council policy about naming civic property, and it's used for naming streets, parks, civic property, or development areas. So any naming of the space has to be submitted for review under that process and evaluated to make sure the name is eligible and that that location is also eligible. So again, you could submit a request to have that space named, and I can provide the link to that process in the minutes. There's a special submission form that needs to be submitted. And as a follow-up to that, during some of our design workshops, some people were really interested in having a bit of a park space developed in the closed space, so kind of expanding the lilacs and the vegetation north of the closed space and extending that further to the south. So to do that, we needed to change the area to a municipal reserve designation, and that involves a subdivision request and an additional annual operating budget requirement so that the space would be maintained by our parks group. And that additional budget was somewhere in the range of $5,000 to $10,000 for maintenance. So we decided not to pursue the municipal reserve designation, and we decided to keep the lilac bushes, that island north of the closure. So if you have any thoughts on that, we'd be happy to hear it. And those are the main issues that have been brought to my attention or concerns. I know during some of the design workshops as well, or the meetings with our stakeholder working group, some people were concerned with southbound traffic taking the right turn onto 14th from Temperance very quickly. And so the proposed curb extension should address that travel speed. And here's another question. Has the city considered making the Little Triangle Park more useful? Right now it's simply full of trees. Yeah. And this comment, they do like the idea of Delish being able to serve customers through a permit application. And they're not sure why it would be illegal. I don't have the details on those, on the permits for a patio. I'd have to make some inquiries with my colleagues to see what the process would be for that. I think because the closure is maybe not quite permanent yet, I'm not too sure why it's illegal, but we can find out more. And in terms of making the Triangle Park more useful, we did consider, as I mentioned, kind of clearing it out and expanding it and creating a bit more of a parklet with kind of a hummingbird and a bee type garden. Unfortunately, with that kind of layout, there was some technical challenges with drainage around the site. So it would require a very significant investment to ensure that the stormwater around the site drained properly and kind of supplied the vegetation with the proper water so that the residents or the community association wouldn't have to water the garden itself. So we could look at trimming through some of the lilac bushes, but we currently don't intend to change the vegetation to anything else beyond lilacs. But we have heard that they haven't been trimmed regularly and that they are a bit overgrown. So we could look at kind of trimming it back and doing a bit of maintenance on the lilac bushes themselves. I'm glad some of you were able to email because it's so much better when we're getting some live questions. So thanks for cooperating despite the technical challenges. I appreciate that. So let me just go over the other methods that you can provide comments with. So as I mentioned earlier, you can email me at natalie.boda@saskatoon.ca. Feel free to give me a call. My number is 306-986-3097. Or you can send me a letter, and that address, I don't have it available right there. Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up. Do you recall what our address is, Chelsea or Julian? 222 3rd Avenue, right? 3rd Avenue, yeah, 222 3rd Avenue North, Saskatoon, Sask. And you can just make it attention to me or the transportation group, and it'll find its way to us. Oh, and the postal code even. Thanks, Jillian. The postal code is S7K0J5. So you don't get too many letters anymore. Most people prefer email, but we're more than happy to read a written letter. Okay, so I think that's all the comments we have. I don't want to keep anyone too late. It looks like some of the attendees are dropping off. We had 6 of you attend tonight, so thanks very much for sticking it out with us so late in the evening. It gets dark so early, and so I know people get sleepy, but I appreciate you taking the time to participate. So as I mentioned earlier, the meeting will be recorded and posted to the Engage page in the next few days. It just takes us a bit of time to get the closed captioning up and running, and then it will be posted. Sorry, not the Engage page, the NTR webpage, saskatoon.ca/NTR. The comment period will be open for 1 month, so please give me a call, send me a letter or an email, and feel free to reach out if you have any concerns or questions, or if you just want to talk through the design. And I'd like to encourage you to share the information with your neighbors so that they also have an opportunity to participate if they weren't able to attend tonight. Hang on, there's my email. Well, here's one more comment. Sitting at Delish, watching the intersection, several people per hour do not understand how to transit to Lansdowne. They go around the little divider on the inside. Is there a safety reason for the little diverter? Oh, at Lansdowne and Temperance, I believe you're talking about the median island, possibly. So they go on the inside of the median island. So the median island was introduced through the neighborhood traffic review recommendations. Sorry, there's the phone ringing here. Median island was recommended because there was concerns with southbound Temperance traffic making that left turn onto Lansdowne, and they were taking it too quickly. So the median island and that other curb extension were installed to kind of curb that behavior. So yeah, so thanks for that comment. And I can provide more details, or you can find some of them online at the NTR webpage. It has the full report about the Nutana Neighbourhood Traffic Review and all the findings and recommendations for those. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us tonight. On behalf of Chelsea, Julian, and myself, I'd like to thank you for joining us and for participating in the permanent closure of 14th Street. Let's make this happen. I can't wait. I'm sure you're more eager than I am. So talk to you soon. Thanks very much for attending tonight. Take care.